Hello, and welcome back to another Daily Top 10's Top 10 video. Today, we're going to be looking at the top 10 evil corporations. For anyone wondering where big corporations manage to get a reputation for being faceless, unfeeling, money-hungry dens of villainy, look no further than the 10 companies on this list. Number 10. IBM. One of only 30 companies included in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the employer of nearly 380,000 people worldwide, IBM is a huge deal. It's a major research organization and holds the record for most patents registered by a business for 23 years straight. It also developed a device for the Nazis that's been called the death calculator. An early precursor to the computer, the death calculator's task was about as grim as you would expect. It helped keep track of people in concentration camps, tallying people's religion, location, and their method of execution. The machine may have been revolutionary for its time, but the human cost for its development was astronomical. And the fact that this wasn't a cause for concern within IBM is chilling.
Aún más interesante es que todo no es tal como parece, porque si uno oprime una tecla acá, verá que hay muchos procesos que están realizándose, así como muchas tareas.
Number 9. James Hardie. Everybody knows that asbestos is dangerous. Heck, experts have known since the 1940s. Somehow, that didn't stop the stuff being used in building materials as late as the 1970s. One company, though, decided that asbestos was still good to go in 1987. Meet Australian manufacturer James Hardie. Thousands of cases of asbestos poisoning came out of the woodwork, prompting an investigation into James Hardie's business practices. It transpired that, yes, James Hardie was well aware of the dangers of asbestos, but had continued to manufacture the stuff without a care in the world. Even more infuriatingly, the higher-ups of the company had seemingly predicted that the company would eventually get sued. So they structured the business so that only James Hardie's subsidiaries were connected to the asbestos work. All the executives had to do was cut off ties to the subsidiaries when the going was getting tough, then leave it to them to pay off the victims, which most of them couldn't afford to do. James Hardie, meanwhile, moved their head office out of Australia altogether. Number 8. Union Carbide. Ever heard of the Bhopal gas tragedy? It took place in India in 1984 when there was a massive gas leak in a pesticide plant. The tragedy is considered the world's worst industrial disaster. It killed nearly 4,000 people and it left another 500,000 injured. The corporation responsible was Union Carbide, and they paid precisely $0 in reparation. Meanwhile, the CEO fled India and returned to his home country of America, where he managed to escape extradition all the way up until his death, when he was presumably extradited to the 7th layer of hell.
They are vomiting, coughing. These are the people dying.
Number 7. Dow Chemical. Interestingly, Union Carbide is today owned by Dow Chemical, another one of the worst corporations in the world. Of course, like most of the names on this list, there are many feathers to Dow's evil hat. They produce numerous toxic chemicals with adverse side effects, including one that has been linked to liver disease, lowered sperm counts, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and Parkinson's disease. Then there's the usual cases of gross tax evasion. Oh, and they happily manufactured a lot of awful ways for people to kill each other during the 20th century wars, including a little thing called napalm.
The U.S. government should pressure Dow to do the right thing, but instead, the Department of Justice has been shielding Dow and Union Carbide from the responsibility.
Number 6. Smithfield Foods. We hope you aren't eating. Unfortunately for Smithfield Foods, their business practices leave most people hungry for justice. Smithfield Foods is a pig slaughterhouse, known for the poor treatment of its porcine occupants. These pigs are squashed into barns with barely any room to move, then exposed to a host of goodies, including antibiotics, insecticides, and dozens of other chemicals. But that's just the beginning. You see, these barns have slits in the floor so that all the excess chemicals and the hog's bodily waste drains out into a toxic pool below. And when we say toxic, we mean don't fall in because you'll die before you get pulled out toxic. How does Smithfield dispense of this awful waste? They convert it into a mist and spray it into the open air, where it drifts off to play merry havoc with the nearby populace. Locals have contracted asthma, bronchitis, neurological damage, and a lot more. Smithfield Foods, meanwhile, doesn't seem too bothered.
Sprawling indoor space. Their entire life is spent standing on concrete floors. Mother pigs are locked in metal cages so small that they literally cannot even turn around from them.
Number 5. DeBeers. When it comes to the evils of business, diamond trading comes to mind very quickly. All the hard work DeBeers has put into inflating demand and increasing the prices of diamonds is remarkable enough. Did you know, for example, that they created the concept of an engagement ring, and their marketing department popularized the idea that one should spend the equivalent of a month's wages on it? But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Taking advantage of South Africa's apartheid regime's absurd tax laws and paying their workers criminally low wages, that wasn't a great look. Then there was the time they beat and tortured the members of an indigenous tribe in Botswana until the entire tribe left their land, all so that DeBeers could get access to a diamond mine. The tribe is still fighting to get their land back to this day.
The 2-kilometer by 1.4-kilometer wide open cast pit drops around 400 meters currently, with the business plan calling for mining to go down to 850 meters.
Number 4. Siemens. Some company somewhere had to be the lot that agreed to build the Nazis' Auschwitz gas chambers. And then there was Reichsbahn, the infamous train system that transported people to the concentration camps in the first place. Well, that shameless company had a name, Siemens. Did we say had? We mean has. For some inexplicable reason, they're still around today. And that's not for lack of continued evil business practices. Today, Siemens is known for getting caught indulging in off-the-book super bribery in countries as diverse as Greece, Iraq, the US, Germany, Venezuela, and Russia.
Ermittler von DeBeers und Plimpton sollen in den vergangenen Monaten bereits fragwürdige Zahlungen von insgesamt 1,6 Milliarden Euro identifiziert haben.
Number 3. Rio Tinto. When a corporation has its own private mercenary army, you know that it is pretty darn evil. Come on, Blofeld has his own private mercenary army. Rio Tinto has perhaps the worst human rights record of any business operating today. They earned the record by torturing and killing opponents to their mines in Indonesia, by supporting the apartheid government in South Africa in exchange for the rights to operate there, by employing slave labor at their uranium mines in Africa, and by exposing workers at another mine in Canada to uranium levels over 7 times the legal limit. Number 2. Monsanto. So, here's that pesticide company you've heard so much about. You know, the one that sells the best-selling weed killer Roundup? That's right. They're also the one that genetically modified a seed that was resistant to Roundup, so that farmers could rest assured that the seeds would be the only thing that would grow in a field that's been sprayed with Roundup. Oh, and they, quote, didn't anticipate that Roundup-resistant weeds would develop over time, even though they kinda totally did anticipate that. Some people call Monsanto the most evil corporation in the world. That's not hard to understand, given that their genetically modified seeds have caused agricultural disasters in the US and India, and that they invented Agent Orange, the chemical that caused more than 400,000 Vietnamese people to die or suffer from disabilities, while also leaving 500,000 children with birth defects. But looking to the future, there's one company that's making a bigger push for the title of the 21st century's most evil corporation. Number 1. Nestle. The chocolate manufacturer? They can't be all that evil, right? Well, Nestle's campaign in the 1970s for mothers to use their baby formula instead of breast milk resulted in widespread infant malnutrition and death in several third world countries. And then there's their new focus on water. Nestle is the largest bottled water distributor in the world, and with such a vested interest in water, they could see that water shortage is likely to become an increasing problem in the 21st century. That's why they have gone into the business of flat-out stealing public water supplies in third world countries around the globe, then selling it back to the populace at inflated prices. Nestle's chairman Peter Brabeck-Letme has even gone so far as to say that access to public water is not a right. Well, Pete, controlling the world's water supply is sure as hell not your right.
The pipe stretches from Strawberry Creek to a Nestle bottling factory in Ontario, California. And every day, 68,000 gallons.
Thanks for watching another Daily Top 10's Top 10 video. And remember, it's our duty to entertain and yours to subscribe.